subscribers, RoseRed17 here, and here is Eden Zero, Volume 7, Chapter 69 to 77, and let's get down to it. In the first chapter of this volume is Chapter 69 called Rebecca's Nightmare, which gives a hint to the beginning of Rebecca's origin, something I've been wanting to talk about for a long time now, and now I can. First off is Rebecca introducing the power of her awakened ether gear she named Leaper, which is another name for speed. Wade, Shiki, and Rebecca decide to race, and in the meantime, Witch is with Hamura discussing her new position as one of the new shining stars, which led Hamura to the secret code known as 3173 called Etherion, and only the 4 shining stars have authorization to unlock its power, which also informed Hamura to keep quiet about Etherion from Shiki and the others. I have noticed but never mentioned that Hamura is no good at keeping secrets, which makes her freak out, and of course Witch noticed it as well as I did and decided not to say anything. Now let's get to the real point of this chapter. Rebecca wakes up from a bad dream with Happy dead and Shiki being a cruel person saying things that terrifies her to the core. Sister was near her bedside waiting for her to wake up after an hour and then informs her about Shiki and the others going after a warship that's been following them. They land inside the ship's dock and the chapter ends with the appearance of Drake and Joe. Now in chapter 70 it starts out with a nice color page of Rebecca going out to catch up with the others while Hermit guides Shiki through the ship and discover an entire city. The crew decided to go exploring, but then Wade stumbled upon an old and yet familiar person. It turns out to be Sybil from the planet Norma. But this Sybil is in the present time who is over 50 years old and has no memories of Shiki or Pino because of the corona phase. They chatted for a while and then Sybil mentioned working at a bar in the city ship. But then after his farewell, Wade tries to calm Pino's nerves about the present Sybil. But then Drake and Joe catches on to them and not only hacks their system but also hijacks their ship. Now in chapter 71 is pretty much the battle between Witch and Draken's crew, as it shows Witch defending the ship and then later revealed a nickname, the Steel Sorceress. And then at the end of the chapter is the reveal of the Element 4, who are Draken's special forces. I know I didn't say much about this chapter because there's really nothing else to say about it besides the fight between Witch and the introduction of the new group of baddies, which is not that surprising to me. The Eden Zero capture one of the foes as the 2 others self-destructed, and while Shiki, Hamura, Wade, and Pino are counting on their mission, Drake and Joe sends a poster of them to be captured alive. He's willing to erase any debt to anyone who catches Shiki and the others, so the crew decided to disguise themselves using the disguise app that Wade's developed. It covered their identity with this technology, but then they are spotted by one of the Element 4s named Laguna, the water spirit. Now this continues on to chapter 73 and 74, and I'm going to give a brief summary for each one of them. For starters, in chapter 73, Laguna's powers reveal as tears as his most astonishing ability. Anyone who cries in front of him just turns into water. Wade thought he got the best of him by not crying, but there are other ways to shed tears, not just with emotional impact, but also with physical pain. Now it's up to Hamura to stop this guy as she claims she will try not to cry in front of him. And it looks like she was going to win as Laguna tried different methods to make her cry. The only thing that almost worked was to get her to yawn, but then she bit down her tongue to keep her awake. But then there's the onion trick, which is the one trick that never fails when it comes to shedding tears. Laguna stored them into small bottles, but then realized one of them was missing. As it turns out, Waze was still around and used a facial app to change his expression. Now this shows a little bit more about Waze's ether gear powers, as he can create an app from a real live event, which I find pretty amazing. And now that he's suited up, in the battle continues on into chapter 74. Now for this summary, it's just Waze versus Laguna. In all honesty, I've never really been interested in a fight battle like this, at least not in the manga, but in the anime it's a little different. So I pretty much just skip the fight scene and go straight to the part where Waze wins thanks to Hermit's help, and then Shiki and the others are set free. But then that happens before the unexpected. Waze is shot through the stomach from a bullet fired from another Element 4, the Flame Sniper. Now on to chapter 75, Pino analyzes where the bullet came from and located the sniper, and then Shiki uses his gravity gear to reflect it back at him. But of course he ends up missing. This guy is ready to fire another round, but then old man Sybil comes to the rescue and brings him to his bar. Now it's up to Rebecca to get the medical supplies to Waze from the ship to the surface, but then runs into trouble with another Element 4. And it's like one enemy after another. They never catch a break, do they? Now in chapter 76, we see Rebecca struggling to get past the enemy firepower, and right before she got blasted, her ether gear activated, allowing her to escape in the nick of time. While on the ship, Sister is trying to get information from her prisoner, and it turns out to be a space slime. Meanwhile, Shiki and the others are waiting for Rebecca with the medical supply. She ends up on the surface, but then get captured by the wind element known as Scythe. Now this is the last chapter of the volume, and the ending was surprising to me. First off, after Rebecca gets captured by the wind user, then she gets sent to Drake and Joe's room. I guess, creepy from this point of view. But more is going to be talk about his real goal in the next volume, but right now, let's talk about what happens in the rest of this chapter. After Shiki lost communication with Rebecca, he and Hamura go searching for her only to find the container she brought. Hamura is willing to take it back to Waze, but then Scythe is willing to stop her, but then Shiki gives her a chance to run, and then Shiki runs into Jin, who turns out to be the brother of Scythe. Then at the end of the chapter, as I mentioned before about Rebecca ending up in Drake and Joe's master bedroom, and also there's one more thing I forgot to mention. When Sister was talking to the space slime, it mentioned Noah, who is the master of the Shooting Star Guild. Now that did give me some speculation on the matter, but I choose to ignore my thoughts and just wait for the results on the next chapter. And what I mean by results, I mean the true goal of Drake and Joe's intentions. But I'm going to wrap up this video and plan on seeing you guys in the next review video of Eden Zero. Thank you for watching. Please leave a comment on your thoughts on this volume, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button for more updates. Rose Red 17 out.